Hi guys and girls, this is Fox Green. In this video I'm going to show you how to change out my SSG24's right hand bolt with the left hand bolt conversion kit. There is also a guidance video provided with the kit by Novritsch himself. You need very little tools to do this job. All you need are the two Allen keys that came with your SSG24, a Phillips head screwdriver, some silicone oil and some Loctite for the screws that you remove. I start by removing the two screws that hold the stock to the gun itself using the Allen key. I then remove the front swing swivel, which doubles also as a third locking bolt. This may be quite tight, so try using a screwdriver and Allen key to help twist it out. Once all three bolts have been removed, simply pry away the gun from the stock. It should take very little force to remove this. The next challenge is simply to remove the trigger box. This is quite easy to do. You'll need your Phillips head screwdriver to remove the two screws that are located at the front and back of the trigger box. Once these screws are removed, we'll gently pry away the trigger box from the assembly. Once you've done this, take note of what position the sear is left sticking out of the assembly. This will need to be removed later on, but needs to go in a certain way. Now we need to modify the trigger box for safety in order to work. In order to do this, remove the four corner screws. Once these have all been removed, gently pry away the top cover of the trigger box. Be careful not to turn it upside down so the parts don't fall out. Here's what the trigger box should look like. You can now put this trigger box aside and take up the top cover. Simply remove the middle screw. Once this is removed, a small piece of metal and a spring should become free. You can take these and put them aside as you no longer need them. However, make sure you hold on to them for if you ever want to convert your SSG back to right-handed again. Next, we simply put back the four screws and the top cover back on the trigger box. Now that the trigger has been modified, we take up the main assembly and take out the sear. Now that that has been removed, we can start by removing the right-hand bolt handle and installing the left-handed one. Simply remove the screw on the back with one of your Allen keys. Once this has been removed, take care as a spring and a piece of metal is inside the cap that comes off. If this falls out, just note that the spring goes in first and the piece of metal goes in last. Once the right-handed handle has been taken off, simply install the left-handed one. Put back on the cap, ensuring that the spring and piece of metal are aligned to the little nub on the new cap. Push the cap on firmly and then using a little bit of Loctite, put a bit on the screw. This will just make sure that it won't rattle loose after a lot of gameplay. Tighten the screw with your Allen key again. The new bolt should be loose enough just to be able to move up and down a few degrees. Make sure the screw isn't so tight that this can't move. Simply now, I need to take off my scope to remove a small Allen key at the back of this rail mount. Using the smaller of the two Allen keys, take off the very back screw on the rail mount. Once this is off, you'll notice that the back section of the assembly should come away. Now we simply just need to install the new one, making sure it's aligned correctly. But first we'll use some WD-40. This is a very tight piece and sometimes it needs to be shimmied into position. Once a new piece has been covered in WD-40 and the housing, simply push the two pieces together, making sure they're correctly aligned. We will now replace the screw that we removed and tighten it back up. After this, we've completed the full assembly. We can now start to put the SSG24 back together. Start by sliding the bolt back in. We can now put the trigger box back on, but first we must put the sear back in, making sure that it is put in the way it came out, facing the correct way. Once the sear has been pushed all the way in, we simply take the trigger box and put it back on. Again, you can use a bit of Loctite on the screws before putting them back in. These seem to be screws that tend to rattle loose on most guns, so I don't take any chances. It's interesting you note that the screws and the parts in this gun are very good. They're not made of cheap metals and feel very strong even though they're tight when you first need to remove them. Having completed a functionality test, ensuring the gun works and making sure that the safety also works, I put the two main pieces back together. I start with the front swivel pin. You may need to stick an Allen key in to line it up to get the barrel to fit in properly, and tighten this again. Once this has been tightened, put in the last two pins that you first took out at the beginning and tighten these up. The gun now functions perfectly as a left-handed model. Stay tuned to watch my first gameplay footage with this left-handed gun. I hope this was helpful and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more gameplay footage. This is Fox Green, thanks for watching.